There is a man alive today who should not exist. Not because the odds were against him, not because life dealt him a hard hand, but because everything, absolutely everything, that happened to him in the first 24 years of his life was designed by circumstance and by cruelty to make sure he never became anything. The poverty was real, the abuse was real, the racism was real, the learning disability was real, the stutter was real. The crushing, suffocating, all-encompassing failure that defined his early life, all of it was real. And none of it stopped him. This is the story of David Goggins. Not the version you see on social media, not the highlight reel of pull-up records and ultra-marathons and Navy SEAL training. The full story, from the beginning, from the darkness, from the place most people never make it out of. Because if you want to understand what David Goggins built, you have to understand what he started with. And what he started with was nothing, less than nothing. A life that most people, looking at it from the outside, would have looked at and said, there is no way out of this. He found a way. And the way he found it is going to change how you think about your own life forever. Buffalo, New York, 1975. David Goggins is born into a world that immediately begins trying to break him. His father, David Goggins, owns a roller skating rink. From the outside, the family looks like it has something, a business, a home, a life. But behind closed doors, the reality is something else entirely. David Goggins is a violent, controlling man who rules his household through fear and brutality. David, his brother, and his mother are forced to work the night shift at the skating rink. Children working through the night, organized roller skates, cleaning floors, and when they do not perform to his satisfaction, the punishment is physical. David is 6 years old. 6 years old and already learning a lesson that most people spend their entire lives trying to unlearn, that the world is not safe, that the people who are supposed to protect you can be the source of the greatest danger, that survival is not guaranteed, that you have to be tough or you will be destroyed. He does not know yet that this lesson, as brutal as it is building something inside him. He cannot see it. He is 6. He is scared. He is a child trying to survive a household that should have been a sanctuary. But the building is happening, whether he can feel it or not. When David is 8 years old, his mother makes the decision that will save both their lives. She leaves. She packs what she can, she takes David and his brother, and she moves them to her parents' home in Brazil, Indiana, a small rural town that could not be more different from Buffalo if it tried. For the first time in his life, David Goggins is free from the man who terrified him. For the first time, there is no fear of what happens when the night shift ends, no dread of footsteps, no bracing for impact. But freedom, it turns out, does not come with a clean slate. Brazil, Indiana in the 1980s is not a welcoming place for a young black boy from Buffalo. The Ku Klux Klan has a presence in the area. Racism is not hidden, it is open, active, and directed at David with a specificity that is meant to destroy his sense of self before it has a chance to form. He finds a slur carved in his Spanish notebook, a racial epithet spray-painted on the door of his car as a teenager, messages both spoken and written that tell him the same thing over and over again. You do not belong here. You are not wanted. You are less than. On top of the racism, David is struggling in school. The years of abuse, the trauma of his early childhood, the constant fight or flight state he lived in during his father's reign, all of it has left marks that show up in the classroom. He is diagnosed with a learning disability. He develops a stutter so severe that social interaction becomes its own kind of terror. He cheats on tests, not because he is lazy, but because he genuinely does not understand the material. He is behind. He knows he is behind, and he has no idea how to close the gap. By the time he is a teenager, the picture is complete. Poor, struggling academically, dealing with racism that would break most adults, no stable father figure, a stutter that makes him the target of mockery, a household where his mother works herself to exhaustion to keep the lights on. This is not a setup for a comeback story. This is a setup for what statistics would predict: a young man who disappears into the margins, who becomes a number in a system that was never built to catch him, who carries his pain quietly until it becomes the ceiling of his life. But something is stirring in David Goggins, something that the poverty and the racism and the trauma and the learning disability have not managed to kill: a refusal. Not loud, not yet, but real. He wants something different. He does not know how to get it. He does not have a roadmap. He does not have a mentor or a coach or anyone telling him that where he started does not have to be where he ends up. But the wanting is there, underneath everything, stubborn and quiet and impossible to extinguish. He looks at his grandfather's military service, the Air Force, the uniform, the discipline, and something in him reaches towards it like it is the first solid thing he has seen in years. He takes the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, the ASVAB, and he fails it. Not by a little, he scores a 20. To pass, you need a 50. He takes it again, he fails again. Most people stop here. Most people take 2 failures as evidence that this path is not for them. Most people find a way to make peace with a smaller life. David Goggins studies. He shows up every day and learns the material that had always seemed impossible to him. And on the 3rd attempt, he passes. He joins the Air Force. He trains for pararescue, one of the most demanding jobs in the military. And during that training, he is diagnosed with sickle cell trait, a medical condition that gets him removed from the program. Another wall. Another reason to stop. He does not stop. He pivots to tactical air control party training instead. He earns his place. He serves from 1994 to 1999. And when his service ends, he walks out of the Air Force with no clear path forward. And then, this is the part that defines everything that comes after. David Goggins hits the lowest point of his life. He is 24 years old. He is working as a pest control fumigator, spraying for cockroaches in restaurants and homes, earning less than $1,000 a month. He has asthma. He still has the learning disability, the stutter, the low self-esteem that years of trauma and failure have built into the architecture of who he believes himself to be. One night, he comes home from work. He is carrying a 42-ounce chocolate shake from Steak 'n Shake. He sits down in front of the television, exhausted, overweight, going nowhere. And he turns on the Discovery Channel. What comes on the screen is a documentary about the United States Navy SEALs, specifically about Hell Week, the most brutal training program in the American military. 6 days, no sleep, constant cold water, constant physical punishment, instructors designed to make you quit. 2/3 of every class that attempts it does not make it through. David Goggins watches these men suffering through Hell Week, and he does not see something impossible. He sees something calling to him. He looks down at himself, 297 pounds, chocolate shake in his hand, no direction, no momentum, a life that is moving away from everything he ever wanted. And something breaks open in him. Not in a soft, inspirational movie kind of way. In a raw, honest, this is the last moment I am living like this kind of way. He looks at himself, really looks, and he decides. Not with excitement, not with a surge of motivation, with a cold, clear, absolute decision. He is going to become a Navy SEAL. To understand how insane this is, you need to understand what stands between David Goggins and that goal in this moment. He is 297 pounds. Navy SEAL candidates need to be able to run, to swim, to pass physical standards that are demanding at any weight. At 297 pounds, he cannot run the miles required, cannot pass the swimming standards, cannot do the pull-ups. He has 3 months. Because the Navy gives him an ultimatum: lose the weight and qualify in 3 months or the opportunity disappears. 3 months to lose 106 pounds. Most doctors would tell you that is not safely possible. Most people would use that as a reason to walk away. What David Goggins does instead is something that reveals everything you need to know about who he was becoming. He runs every day, regardless of the pain, regardless of the weather, regardless of the fact that his body at nearly 300 pounds was not designed for the kind of mileage he is asking of it. His knees hurt, his shins hurt, everything hurts. He runs anyway. He rides a stationary bike. He swims in a pool when his knees cannot take more running. He controls what he eats with a precision that has nothing to do with motivation and everything to do with decision. The decision has been made. The feelings are irrelevant. In 3 months, David Goggins loses 106 pounds. Read that again, 106 pounds in 3 months, through pure, relentless, uncompromising will. He qualifies for BUDS, Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL Training, the program that produces Navy SEALs, the program where 2 out of every 2 candidates who enter do not finish. He shows up, and BUDS breaks him. Not immediately, not all at once, but the training finds every weakness David Goggins has ever had and presses on it without mercy. His feet develop stress fractures from the running. The cold water, hours in the Pacific Ocean, soaking in temperatures that drive the body towards hypothermia, tests something that physical training cannot fully prepare you for. His class is whittled down, man by man, injury by injury, ring by ring, because when you quit BUDS, you ring a brass bell 3 times and your helmet goes on the ground next to the others who could not make it.
David Goggins rings that bell. He does not make it through his first attempt at BUDS. He is rolled back, meaning he must start the process over with a new class. His feet are destroyed. His body has been put through things it was not ready for. He comes back. His second attempt at BUDS brings Hell Week again. The same 6 days, the same cold water, the same relentless, manufactured suffering designed to find the place where you break and press on it until you break. David Goggins develops pneumonia during Hell Week. His body is shutting down in ways that are genuinely dangerous. The medical staff pulls him from training. He does not make it through his second attempt either. A lesser person, a person with less at stake in their own identity, a person who had not already decided who they were going to be, would have found a way to make 2 failures mean something final, would have found a way to make the body's rebellion mean that this was not meant for them, would have accepted the evidence and moved on. David Goggins comes back a 3rd time. He goes through Hell Week again for the 3rd time. 3 Hell Weeks in a single year, something so rare that almost no one in the history of BUDS has done it. His body by this point is not just struggling, it is breaking down in ways that require a level of mental override that most people cannot conceptualize. He completes Hell Week. He completes BUDS with Class 235 in 2001. He earns the Trident, the pin that designates a United States Navy SEAL. And it is here, standing on the other side of everything that tried to stop him, that the David Goggins philosophy begins to crystallize into something he can articulate, something he can teach. Your mind quits before your body does, always, every single time. When he was running those miles at 297 pounds and his body screamed stop, it was not his body that was the obstacle. When he was in the cold water during Hell Week and every signal said ring the bell, it was not his nervous system that was the enemy. It was the voice that says this is too much, the voice that has 100 reasons why stopping is reasonable and justified and even wise. That voice lies. It has always been lying. and David Goggins spent every moment of buds proving it. He calls it the 40% rule. When your mind tells you that you are done, when you hit what feels like your absolute limit, the place where there is nothing left, you are at 40% of your actual capacity. Your body has more. Your mind is just trying to protect you from finding out how much. The question is whether you trust the lie or you keep going. After becoming a SEAL, Goggins is assigned to SEAL Team 5. He deploys, he serves, he earns the respect of the people around him not through talent. He will be the first to tell you he is not the most talented person in any room, but through the one thing that cannot be faked: showing up every day at a level that the people around him have never seen before and do not fully understand.
He raises over $2 million for the Special Operations Warrior Foundation. $2 million. From a man who used to earn less than $1,000 a month spraying cockroaches. What happens next is the world beginning to realize that David Goggins is not just a remarkable athlete or a remarkable soldier. He is something else. Something harder to categorize and harder to explain. A living example of what the human mind and body are capable of when the limitations that most people accept as permanent are simply refused. He begins running ultramarathons, not casually, competitively, obsessively. He runs more than 50 endurance races. He completes races in conditions that other elite athletes describe as the worst they have ever experienced. He finishes races on bones that should not be bearing weight, on a body that medical professionals say should not be moving. He finishes because finishing is who he is now, not who he wants to be, who he is. In 2013, David Goggins decides he wants to set the world record for the most pull-ups done in 24 hours. This is the kind of goal that you set when your relationship with pain is fundamentally different from everyone else's. Pull-ups done in volume become their own particular form of torture. The hands blister and tear, the muscles reach failure and have to be recovered. The shoulders take on damage that accumulates hour by hour. After 17 hours, Goggins has done 2,565 pull-ups. His hands are torn open. His joints are at the edge of what the body can sustain. He does not stop. He finishes with 4,030 pull-ups in 24 hours, a Guinness World Record. And then, because this is David Goggins, he says the next thing: the book. In 2018, David Goggins publishes Can't Hurt Me: Master Your Mind and Defy the Odds. And it does something that most books in the self-improvement space do not do. It does not tell people what they want to hear. It does not offer a comfortable path to becoming better. It does not suggest that the work will be easy, or that there are shortcuts, or that the right mindset will make the hard things feel soft. It tells the truth. The full, ugly, unglamorous truth of what it actually takes to rebuild yourself from nothing. The truth about suffering. The truth about the accountability mirror. The truth about the 40% rule, and what it means to push past the point where your mind has decided you are done. The book sells millions of copies. Not because people like what it says, because people recognize it. Because somewhere underneath all the comfortable lies they have been telling themselves about why their life is not what they want it to be, they know. They have always known. And David Goggins is the first person who has said it directly to their face without apology. You are not at your limit. You are at the place where it gets hard. And you have been stopping there your whole life. But here is what I want you to take from all of this. Not the records, not the miles, not the hell weeks or the pull-ups or the number on the fundraising total. The real lesson of David Goggins is not what he did. It is where he started. A 6-year-old working a night shift in a roller skating rink because his father demanded it.
A child who heard racial slurs carved into his notebook and spray painted on his car.
A teenager with a stutter and a learning disability who cheated through school because understanding the material felt impossible. A 24-year-old sitting on his couch at 297 pounds with a chocolate shake, watching other men suffer on television and thinking, that is what I am going to do. That man, that background, those circumstances, that starting point, and everything that follows is not the story of someone who overcame his past. It is the story of someone who used his past, who took every scar and every failure and every moment of cruelty and violence and injustice and turned it into fuel, who decided that the weight of everything that had happened to him was not going to determine the height of everything he was capable of becoming. Your past is not your sentence. Your circumstances are not your ceiling. The voice that tells you that you are done, that you have given everything you have, that this is your limit, that the gap between where you are and where you want to be is too large to close, that voice is at 40% of the truth. You have more. You have always had more. David Goggins did not find that out because life made it easy for him. He found it out because he refused to accept the alternative, refused to let the version of himself that sat on that couch in 1999 be the final version, refused to let the sum of everything that had gone wrong become the definition of everything that was possible. He went to war with himself every single day, and he is still fighting. That is the story. Not the records, not the accolades, not the book sales or the social media following or the speaking engagements. The war within. The daily decision to be more than what happened to you. The refusal, absolute, unconditional, non-negotiable, to let your past write your future. That decision is available to you. Not someday, not when the conditions are better or the timing is right or you feel ready. Right now. The question is the same one David Goggins asked himself sitting on that couch in 1999 with his chocolate shake and his broken life and his impossible dream. What are you going to do about it?